All right, it is time to start getting this thing ready to go to the track now. So the first thing that we actually need to do to get it ready to go to the track is drive it some, because it does have some low ethanol content, pump E85 out of a flex fuel pump, and we want to get some better fuel in there before we go to the track. So I'll give you a quick rundown on the car as it sits now. We'll go do some driving, and then we can talk about how we kind of started with the car to get to where we are now. So this is a 5.3. It's got a K1 crank, rods and Wiseco pistons, stock heads. The machine work was all done by TKM Performance, and we got their mini hoops as well just to try to help with some head gasket retention. We have a billet 80mm T6 from VS Racing. The turbo kit was fabbed here in the shop. Most everything on this car was done just in this garage with a couple floor jacks and some jack stands. We got a Kodion Motorsports front end, and then we did Viking double adjustable Crusaders front and rear. We just did this because we had some suspension issues last season that were kind of limiting how fast we could get it to the 60 foot. So even with those issues, it still went 919 at 151 miles an hour. And we did also do some limiters in the front, some chain limiters, so we can stop the front end from popping up too high if we get on a good track. And also right now the way they're set is so they don't hurt the shocks, so the shocks can't exactly fully extend. We stop them just before they can. The transmission is a 4L80. We picked that up out of a junkyard for $300 and then watched some YouTube videos and decided to take our hand at it. So with the B.A.F, that means broke us, because we try to do everything we can on a budget. So I couldn't afford to have somebody build me a really nice transmission, so we took a stab at it, ordered a Jake Stage 2 rebuild kit, a billet input shaft, and one of his D1 trans brakes. Rebuilt it, and the thing's been solid ever since. So guess we kind of got lucky there. It does have a Ryan Jans billet torque converter. It is a single lockup disc, so we can't lock this thing up at wide open, but it makes it great to cruise around because we do want to do drag and drives as well. The rear end is the stock 8.8 with some strange C-clip eliminators, axles, and a spool. It has the Team Z brace kit put on it, and it has Team Z lower control arms, Team Z springs, and baseline relocated uppers, and a baseline anti-roll bar. The front lower control arms are also Team Z as well. It still uses the stock tank. We just sumped it, and we've plumbed that to a MagnaFuel 4303 with some Snake Eater Bosch 210s, a Stroud chute, and kit from Motion Raceworks as well. And then on the interior is fairly basic. I like the stock look as much as I can get. We obviously have the Kirkies in here, and then we have a Holley Pro Dash and Terminator X fuel injection. So let's get this thing started up. Let's go cruise it a little bit. Let's burn off some fuel, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about how we ended up getting to here. All right, let's see how this dude starts up today. just got back from taking it for a little bit of a cruise and doing a couple of little small pulls on just 10 pounds. We changed a few things over with the fuel system, so I really wanted to double check the fuel map on it. We're missing in a few spots. We need to make some fueling corrections, but no big deal with that. We will get that addressed. So really all we need to do to get ready to go is we need to bring the front end up because the springs have settled a little bit. And then we made the catch pan down here for this year. A lot of racetracks are requiring those in case you yeet a rod out of the side of your block. And I was debating on doing an engine diaper, but I changed the oil in this car quite a bit to try to keep the engine as healthy as I can. And taking the diaper on and off just seemed like a pain in the butt. So this is 6 bolts. It takes me about 2 minutes to take the belly pan off. So we just made one of those and slapped it on the car. But the pig mat is I made some hold down straps. I don't know if you can see that, but right here at the front it still catches some air and blows that up. So I need to fix that. And we're just gonna double check all the fluids and aim the headlights a little bit better because they're pointed a little bit down. So we'll take care of that. So let's go ahead and we're gonna go to doing some pictures of where the car kind of started off and how we got to where we are today. All right, I'm going to try to keep this short. So we bought this car back in 2018. This was not my first Foxbody that I'd ever owned, but this time when it came around, I was like, I want something that's really nice. So I found this one, and the body was really straight on it. It had a few upgrades, nothing that was too crazy, so it fit the bill. So I picked it up, and a couple years go past, and I'm kind of getting bored with the car. I've been following the sloppy mechanic stuff for quite some time and seeing the repeated success that people had getting stuff up to, 500-600 horsepower really easily. We decided to pull a trigger on it. So we yanked the motor and transmission out, went to a junkyard and got a 5.3, brought it to the house, and we opened it up and gapped the rings in it and reused all the bearings, head bolts, and everything as sloppy mechanics gets. Threw a sloppy stage 2 camshaft in it and put it in the car. After a couple of months of looking around, we finally found a 4L80. And I wanted the 80E because of the overdrive and lockup torque converter. I know that I always want to drive this car on the street, so that was kind of a big deal for me. So we got it, drained the fluid out of it, put an HD2 shift kit in it, filled it up, and went racing. And the car performed pretty good for a little while, and then the junkyard part of that came back to bite me in the butt, and we had to pull the transmission back out. I didn't have the time, I didn't have the money to pay someone to build me one, so I took to YouTube as one does and started watching some videos on how to rebuild a 4L80 transmission. Talked myself into ordering the parts and doing it, and then just had to remind myself that if something went wrong, hey, you're just out parts, it was worth the shot, and if it goes good, cool, you've learned something new. So we got a Jake Stage 2 rebuild kit, a billet input shaft, and one of his D1 brakes. Rollerized everything while we were in there, and luckily everything has held up really good. I really enjoy the sloppy mechanic style stuff because, especially for me being a beginner, this was going to be the first car that I was going to learn how to tune. And, if you blow the motor up, you're out $500. Like, it's not the end of the world like it would be if you had, a $3,000 or $4,000 bottom end motor that you're kind of messing with. So it fit the bill for us really, really well. And now that we've kind of progressed a little along the way, I decided to put some money into the bottom end, having TKM do the machine work and doing their mini hoops. I wanted something that would hopefully be reliable. Now, that's not saying that people don't have success doing the stock bottom end thing, because clearly they do. My luck is not that good, so I went ahead and hopefully put some security in there that we can have something that's decently quick that will be able to drive on the street for a couple of years. So make sure you guys check in. Thank you everybody that's watched the other videos and shorts so far, and hopefully we'll be bringing you some racing content here within the next week or two.